Good evening, everybody. I know we see a bunch of people logging in. We're going to give you a couple more minutes to join us tonight for our webinar, Staying Healthy in Stressful Times. This is a weekly program that we do, and I mean, what can I say? It's a weird time of the world, and just really appreciative to be able to reach out and hopefully communicate some health information to everybody. It's a very challenging time for all of us, and we want to try and get everybody the best information. In addition to our programming, with this webinar, we give people a chance to ask questions. So if you're just tuning in the Q&A, tell me who are you and where are you from? And I see Lou from Fair Lawn, New Jersey, who is our first person who's written in. We have a really nice crowd building here in our participants. And so in the Q&A, you'll be able to tell us, please, who you are and where you're from so we know where we're broadcasting to. And we'll ask questions throughout the evening, and we'll be able to ask those to our panelists tonight. We have good afternoon from Anne in Brooklyn, New York, and we have Suzanne from Atlanta. We have Charles coming in from New York City. We have Denise from Washington Heights and Brad from Hoboken. And Blaze is staying home on the Upper West Side, so that's awesome. We have Carl in Omaha, and Binny in New York, and Anna, another one from Hoboken. So love to see where everybody is. Upper West Side, and we're happy to see you, Upper West Side. Brooklyn, California. Vanessa, nice to see you, Vanessa. Lily from Queens. Carrie from Londonderry, New Hampshire. So really nice to be able to see so many people and to hear from you tonight. So let's jump into tonight's program. As many of you know, we've been doing this wellness webinar every Thursday evening. We have a running medicine webinar every Tuesday, and I'm going to be teaching a virtual boot camp class every Saturday morning, and that's this Saturday at 10 a.m., and you'll be getting an email at the end with information on how to register for that if you haven't already. And the goal is that I was listening to an interview with the head of Mass General who made the comment that we are socially isolated, physically isolated, but socially together. And I like that idea of distinguishing between physical isolation and social isolation, that I really think it's important that even if we are physically distanced, we are socially together, because as humans, we really need to interact with each other. It's such an important part of what it means to be well and healthy. So let's talk about tonight's program. Tonight's webinar is really exciting for me, that I get to bring together some just incredible people to share their expertise and their minds with us. So as you know, in our wellness programming, we always do about a half hour of discussion and then a half hour of movement. The idea is healthy mind and a healthy body. That's what we're after. And the mind part of tonight is exciting. I get to speak with two people. Dr. Hooman Yagubzadeh, and Hooman is a longtime friend. He's a cardiologist. He's a cardiologist. Spent too much time in orthopedics. He's a cardiologist and preventive health physician at Cornell and Hospital for Special Surgery. He has been really forward-thinking in what it means to be a physician in terms of preventive health and wellness, and really excited to have him. After Hooman, we're going to speak with Gretchen Reynolds, who's just a longtime hero. If you read the New York Times and know the phys ed column, she has just been such an amazing journalist in kind of bridging the worlds of fitness and medicine and really bringing complicated science to the masses when it comes to how to be physical and active. And we're going to talk about that in terms of health. And then we get a workout with one of my good friends, Angela Gargano, one of the American Ninjas, and she's going to put us through the paces for a workout at home. So tonight's webinar, as we kind of talk about it and think about it, I want you to think about, the focus of tonight is movement, tips for maximizing your health, and a strength class. And before we jump into talking with Hooman, I would say that there have been really 4 changes this week in the New York area. Number one, we've seen the surge, and we're nearing hopefully the apex of COVID morbidity and hopefully mortality. We've seen some real changes with facial coverage going outside, people being asked to cover their faces when they are outside, anytime they may be in proximity to somebody else. And we've really started to kind of settle into this concept of social distancing and what that means and what it looks like. I think these are all big differences, in the last week or so since we did this last time. So happy to answer any questions as we go forward, and please feel free to write those in. And our first discussant panelist in tonight is Hooman Yagubzadeh. Hooman, as I mentioned, is a cardiologist, a preventive health physician, and a really forward-thinking doctor. And I want to start by welcoming Hooman, and thank you so much before Passover Seder, jumping in and being with us. Hooman, welcome. Great to see you.
Thank you for having me. This is such a great opportunity.
So Hooman, I know we've talked in the past and shared many patients in the past. And it's interesting, being a physician now, maybe we'll start there, is a very different thing for both of us. We're both doing telemedicine as part of what we do. Me with orthopedic issues, and you're managing patients with all kinds of disease, and sounds like a lot of patients with COVID, which is something that you probably didn't have a lot of experience doing until a couple months ago. So tell us a little bit about how that's happening for you.
Yeah, one of the wonderful things, as you know, about what we do is that we're always continuing to learn. And so one of the things that all doctors really are taught very early on is how to look up information, change the way they think about things. And as information started out about COVID, it feels like I'm back in school studying physiology, studying every single article that's published to try to bring the latest care and recommendations to my patients. It's in some ways an absolute privilege to be in a profession to feel like I have a role. And I think many physicians, definitely surgeons and orthopedic folks and folks in your business, are involved in fixing things. We really want to just get in there and fix problems. And it's a privilege to be able to help, but at the same time, extraordinarily frustrating, because it's an issue that we don't have a lot of control over, a lot of treatments for, and all of the usual things that we can do in the hospital are very much handicapped. So it's very frustrating as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because I think one of the things that we both share ideologies on, as a sports medicine doctor, I'm also very oriented towards preventive health and using different ways to prevent health. And we're going to talk with Gretchen next about exercise as preventive health. But I think that's an interesting thing, because preventive health, in some ways, when you look at, we've kind of, discovered the human genome and been able to kind of look at that, and we've gone to the moon, and we've mastered the internet and all kinds of things. And yet this crazy little virus that we can't even see is bringing the whole world to its knees, and it's frustrating. While at the same time, I think many of the principles of what keeps people well and healthy are especially important now, at a time when we wouldn't have anticipated that. So the things of regular exercise and sleep and nutrition, maximizing your immune function, things that we both talk about a lot, both from a cardiologist point of view and as a sports medicine point of view, are among the best parts of information we can give people.
Absolutely. And when you're talking about this particular virus, nothing about it is all or nothing. Nothing about it is, we know if this person's going to get sick or that person's going to get sick. And there's a real array of illness and severity. And I do believe, and the literature does bear out, that comorbidities and baseline health status are very important predictors of how people are going to do when they get the virus.
So, and for all of our viewers who may not be medical, that's exactly right. So comorbidities means things like if you're overweight, or you have diabetes, or you have heart disease, or things that have made you, those things are complicating factors. So trying to be as healthy as you possibly can becomes really, really important all the time, but especially now. So I think that's important. Hooman, we have a lot of people who are watching this. We have a huge crowd tonight on this webinar who are wondering, what some of the things they might notice. There, people are watching the news. You've been taking care of a lot of patients with COVID and managing, as we discussed earlier before the webinar started, many of these patients at home. So what kind of tips can you give to people, just in terms of kind of recognizing if they may be getting some symptoms, and maybe some things you've kind of learned in the past several weeks in terms of the best advice you're giving your patients?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hopefully everybody understands the importance of socially isolating and distancing, and really being very careful to not interact with other people, to spread the virus at a time where resources are extraordinarily limited. And I've said from actually the beginning of this, in the beginning of March, that at some point chances are we're all going to get the virus. At some point, we are going to come across the virus in one way or the other. The key is to not get it this week, last week, next week, a couple of weeks after, when first we don't know exactly how to treat it very well, hospitals are overburdened, and we're just figuring out the systems of how to manage. And so, you know, getting yourself sort of in the mode that this virus ultimately, although it's causing tremendous havoc, is not very dangerous for the vast majority of people. And so therefore individual risk of badness is relatively low, but you want to take that risk later when we know a lot more about the disease. The symptoms, initial symptoms can be cold-like symptoms, headache, low-grade fever, sweats, and diarrhea, I would say, are the four, plus sore throat. Those are the 4 or 5 major things that people come down with. Some people have GI stuff first. Some people have headache and sore throat first. The key is if you've been social distancing, if you have any symptoms, fatigue could be a major presenting symptom for a day or two. If anything's really significantly different than it was over the past week, the chance that you have some other virus is so low, and the incidence of this virus is so high, the prevalence, I should say, of this virus is so high, that chances are it's COVID. So I would assume any symptom that you're having that could be viral based is COVID. Chest tightness and difficulty breathing, pain, chest pain are other common symptoms.
Yeah, so I think it's very scary for people to hear that on one hand. On the other hand, it's probably you know, it's so helpful to know that most people that get this are going to be okay, and that every week we are learning more about how to take care of this problem, how to diagnose it, and I think that's very important. I'm looking through some of our questions, and we have a lot of questions coming in for you. Here's a question from Anna, who asked, Hooman, if a person is asymptomatic but had the virus and has been isolating for 2 weeks, are they still at risk for spreading the virus to other people?
So as we're seeing and how information is changing so quickly, a lot of the things that we believe to be true is just that. We believe to be true and not absolutely proven yet. But we believe it to be true that once you have the virus and you're over the symptoms and no more fever and so on and so forth, definitely 2 weeks after the illness, that you should not be infectious any longer. There are case reports where patients are swabbed, they come back negative sort of at the end of the illness, and then they're swabbed 2 or 3 days later or a week later, and the swab comes back positive, meaning that there are pieces of viral RNA still in the oral or nasal mucosal area. And some people have been concerned that, does that mean that those patients are still infectious? Did they get reinfected? And really, we don't have any good cases where we find that people have gotten reinfected. So we don't think that in the short period of time, weeks, months after the illness, that you're going to be able to get infected again. And we also don't think that you're infectious once you've fully recovered, because even if virus is being found by the PCR test, that virus is going to be coated with antibodies that you've created. That virus is not going to be functional. It's like, you know, being in front of a boxer, but the boxer's hands are tied behind his back. It's just not as threatening. And so we don't think that you're infectious after you've recovered.
Here's a question from Cesar Lopez, who asked, how soon can we expect the antibody test to be widely available, which a lot of people are asking about?
Yeah, excellent question. And figuring out immunity will be integral to open up society again. So, you know, once we figure out as a society how to manage this, that management is going to be figure out who's immune, figure out who's currently infected, and both of them involve mass testing, figure out who's currently infected, and isolate individuals who are in contact or have been in contact with that person who's been infected. So you create a bubble around those groups of people, and then keep high-risk patients like elderly folks, people with significant comorbidities, keep them isolated, and then create a solution where if you're immune, if you don't have the illness or connected to somebody who has the illness and you're not in one of these high-risk groups, you can go out and with some basic masks and gloves and some basic social distancing, but you can go to work and you can, we can start to open society. So the immunity testing is very important.
Yeah.
There are 3 or 4 point of care tests, which are finger pricks that have not been validated. One of them is FDA approved, but it's a very, very small sample size. I believe in a population that may be different than our population in the United States genetically. And so therefore has really not been widely validated in our community. The best test that we need is a serologic test, a blood test, just like you check for antibodies against chickenpox and other illnesses. Those are being developed. I believe, for example, at New York Hospital, they're going to have access to those labs within the week. The question is, when are they going to be ready to mass test folks? And I think maybe in about 2 weeks, we're going to start to see more and more testing. And then every week after that, capacity will ramp up significantly as other labs like Quest and LabCorp and so on and so forth can do it.
That'll change the face of what we're doing for sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you the last comment here, and then gonna send you off to your Passover Seder. And I really appreciate you coming to be part of this, Human. So Kylie Durham makes the comment in our Q&A, quote, "We believe it to be true," end quote. "When so much is unknown, that was an excellent, in caps, way of phrasing and explaining what the doctors and health professionals are thinking right now." I think that's a fair comment.
Yeah.
And I think that we're learning more every week, and amazing healthcare providers like you and all the incredible people working to kind of promote health and keep patients healthy are learning every week a little more, and every day a little more, and that will hopefully translate into small. We in our Running Medicine webinar, I had on a guy, a terrific guy, who had a bad bike accident and was paralyzed from the chest down, and talked about coming back and eventually doing the Ironman in Hawaii and the New York City Marathon, and talked about just the process of getting, out of the hospital and then doing a little bit and then doing a mile and then doing 2 miles and then doing the Ironman. And it was just one little step along the way. And that mentality was so important for him. So I think in the medical side, it's a lot of the same thing, little victories and little learning along the way to translate into success.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say also along those lines, currently, while you're sitting home, and especially if you haven't had the virus yet, having some kind of plan of what are you going to do when you, or if you have symptoms. So, finding maybe a group of 5 or 6 other people in the community that at least between the 5 of the households, you have a thermometer, a blood pressure cuff, and ideally a pulse oximeter. If you can get your hands on something that measures your oxygen level, and you can still order them on Amazon. It might take a week or 2 to get delivered. They're not very expensive. Those 3 things and access to a physician then allows you to sort of ride it out. The vast majority of people, and it will allow the physician the objective data points that he or she needs to then guide you as to what you need to do and when is the time to go to the ER, if that very, very small possibility comes to bear.
Human, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you taking the time, and we'll definitely have you back if you'll come, all right?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, so now it is a pleasure to bring live from Santa Fe, New Mexico, one of the great people and great writers, Gretchen Reynolds. If you are a New York Times reader, you're involved in health, fitness, you know Gretchen, who is basically is the phys ed columnist for the New York Times Well blog. She's been doing it for a number of years. And the reason I wanted her on is A, I'm a huge fan, and it's a pleasure to have her here. And B, because we're at a time when there's so many questions about exercise. And before we get to exercise in this webinar, Gretchen really does a great job of kind of taking people's questions and taking the science and really letting everybody digest some of that. So Gretchen, welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a great pleasure to be part of this.
So in our community of people listening and watching this webinar tonight, we've got, looking at the Q&A, tons of people with different questions about exercise, how much exercise, the right kind of exercise. I imagine your inbox must be flooded with people writing you.
Yes, and most of them are asking either how much do I have to do or how little can I get away with?
And the answer is probably someplace in between right now. There's a sweet spot in between.
Yes, although what both I would tell people and what the science clearly says, and you make this point too, is absolutely anything is truly, and this isn't just being facetious, it really is scientifically better than nothing. It will help you to be healthier. It will help you to sustain the fitness that you have. So even just getting up and walking across the living room will be better than not getting up and walking across the living room.
Hear that, Dad? So keep biking every single day in Kansas City.
I tell my mom too. So.
Good. We'll share her too. Perfect. So Gretchen, I'm going to talk about a couple things you've had in the Times just recently. But first, I just want to get an idea. There are hundreds of research papers that come out all the time, monthly, and you have the enviable and unenviable task of kind of parsing through those and picking what you're going to write about, and then taking that, speaking with the authors of the study, and then making this into really incredible, digestible columns for the whole world to read. So how do you go about the process of doing that? Because I always wondered how you pick what you're going to write about.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm very self-involved. So I look for things that will have applicability to me. And I think I'm very, very average. So I really do look for studies that help advance our knowledge of fitness in terms of essentially health, how exercise does help us to live longer, live better, be smarter, keep our memory, all those things that I care about because I'm, as all of us, aging. And so it's really exciting to be on my beat because we are getting so much more science, from the cellular level up of how exercise and physical activity, however you define exercise, how they really affect our lives and our lifespans. And so I looked for the studies that tell us something new about how our bodies work, and that I read it and I say, wow, that's really cool. And then I write about it and I get to talk to the scientists, which is so interesting. And I'm not a scientist. So what I try to do when I talk to the scientists is get them to tell me what someone like me can get out of this study. And once I know that, then it's actually pretty easy to translate it, because as soon as I understand why it matters to someone like me, I can usually tell, the people out there why it would matter to you.
That's exactly right, which I think is exactly the right voice, because when you that's exactly how it comes across, is that is people can understand. And it's interesting because when I go back, then it's often the case that you will write about something. I will click on the hyperlink and read the study, and you've just done an amazing job of encapsulating in English what the science has been all about. So it's really helpful. So you're doing a great job. Now, by the way, if anybody wants to read Gretchen's work, all you have to do is put in phys ed, Gretchen Reynolds, New York Times. The New York Times is actually free right now, and you can read. She's got, how many years have you been doing that column for?
More than 10. So
Yeah.
every week.
But it's incredible just because even looking at the evolution of the science of movement and why that's so helpful. We started a seminar for the second year med students at Cornell on the medicine of exercise. And just looking at what we used to have versus what we have now in terms of information is just night and day difference. And you've done a great job with that. And all that's free for everybody to read. I want to talk to you about two things you've written about in the last week or so, last 2 weeks. The first one was on walking inside and why even if you're basically quarantined inside someplace, walking around inside is still really valuable for you. What did you learn about that one, and what can you tell us?
The reason I was drawn to that study is for exactly the reason that a lot of us are stuck inside. We can't go out, at least in some places, people, it's very difficult to go out and run 20 miles. If you have kids at home, if you have grandparents at home, if you're working at home, it's just really hard to get in a frequent, lengthy exercise. So I was really drawn to this study because it was looking at walking. It was looking at the number of steps people take. And it was looking at how that seems to be associated with how long you live, which is basically the marker that we're all really interested in. And it was looking at, so if you take really few steps and then you take a few more steps, how much of an impact might that have on your lifespan? And what they found, it was an associational study, so it doesn't show direct cause and effect, that we always try and make that clear. But it did show that just adding 4,000 steps a day, which is the equivalent of about 2 miles, it's not very much, and it had a profound impact on lifespan, at least in terms of the association. People who took 8,000 steps a day instead of 4,000 steps, and you didn't have to take them fast, it didn't have to involve running, it just involved taking more steps. They had 50% greater risk of not dying prematurely. And that's really substantial. And again, it meant walking around in your living room. It didn't mean you had to go run a marathon. So if you're stuck at home, if your kids are with you, have a parade, walk through the whole house. You don't have to make this a workout. Just be more active, and your phone can tell you, your watch, if you're like me, you have an activity watch, keep track of your steps. If you only manage to do 4,000 today, which 4,000 is better than 0, if you can get up to 6,000 tomorrow, that's probably going to have a really substantial effect on your health and well-being.
That's a great message. And as you know, the 10,000 steps a day was kind of an arbitrary number that was basically a translation of a Japanese description of the first pedometer before the 1964 Olympics in Tokyo. But doing some more steps, 5, 6, 7,000 steps a day is somewhere in the range where we should getting it. People want to get 10,000.
That's fine if you want to, but it does look like, even in this study, if someone were getting 2,000 and someone else were getting 4,000, which is 2 miles, it made a really substantial difference in their potential lifespan. So get up and move as much as you can right now.
You bet. And then the other study that you just reported on, I think yesterday, was on the importance for mood and anxiety of exercising, more than 4 times. I tell my patients in my community, do something every day is the best. But it sounds like you were saying that even if you do it 4 times a week, there's a lot of psychological benefits for exercise. I think that's another interesting piece for right now.
And this was a study that was looking at people who were psychologically healthy to start with. A lot of studies, when they look at things like, does exercise help with depression, that they start with people who have clinical depression. This was looking at people who had mental health scores that were completely healthy. And they had them start exercising. And again, it was 4 times a week. It wasn't incredibly difficult. It was moderate, sort of walking, jogging, 35 minutes or so. And these people who were mentally healthy improved their mental health. They actually had lower scores of depression, hostility, anxiety than they had at the start. And they started out healthy. So it really does suggest that the mental health benefits of exercise at a time when we all really need mental health help are really substantial and are available to us without having to run a marathon. The more you can move, the better your mood will probably be. And that's what the science seems to say, not just this study, but a whole wealth of scientific reports.
You better believe it. That's exactly right. And I think you really summarized that very well. There's something I kind of talk about to my patients of like getting a wheel, so a tractor tire on the ground, and the most energy is getting that thing up and getting it up and starting to move. Once it starts rolling, it gets some momentum to itself. And I think that's the key point about that. I have a couple questions coming in, a whole bunch, but I'm just going to ask you one or two. Anonymous attendee asked the question, I'm having motivational problems at this time in my life with everything going on. Do you have any good suggestions that might help me? And based on your work, what do you think?
Well, the science all says do something that you like, but which is the main motivator. I would say right now, for me, what keeps me motivated is that being able to exercise is one thing that I can control at a time when so many things really are completely outside of all of our control. Jobs, infection rates, all of that, our families, if your kids are home with you, all of that can be very difficult to have any control over. I can take half an hour. I can, in my case, I'm in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I'm sorry, it's a great place to be. I can go outside, all of our trails are open. I can take that time that I can do something that I know will have benefits. I can control it. It will make me feel better. And that's what motivates me. I hope that would be motivational for most people, because right now so many things do feel really large and overwhelming. This is one instance where you can take, if you are stuck inside, where you can close the door to your office or bedroom, walk around the bedroom 10 times. It's still something you can control. You will then have accomplished something. There's a very clear endpoint to that. You have a goal, 5 minutes later, you've accomplished it. That definitely motivates me.
What a great message, Gretchen. It is such an absolute honor to have you on and a real pleasure to talk with you. And I hope you will do this again. And I can't wait for us to meet face to face and give you a big hug. I'm sorry it took this terrible pandemic for us to meet face to face, but thank you so much for your terrific work over many, many years, and look forward to having you again soon.
Thanks very much for having me.
Terrific. And you can do the American Ninja workout right now if you'd like.
I plan to. Thanks a lot.
Good. All right. Angela.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. This has been really great. It's informative for me to hear all this stuff, and I love hearing about everyone's questions and what's going on, because we really all are in this together.
You better believe it. You better believe it. All right. So it is my absolute pleasure to welcome good friend Angela Gargano to our webinar. And Angela is going to lead us in about a 25-minute workout. So everybody stand up, shake out your legs, and I'm going to put myself and Gretchen in the place where you can't see us. And Angela, it's all yours. Go get them and make them sweat.
Amazing. Okay, guys. Well, super excited to meet you guys. I wanted to make it a little bit fun today, so I decided for our warm-up today, we're going to do a little Cotton Eye Joe to get our bodies moving. So let's just, everybody knows this song, right? So we're going to get ourselves nice and warmed up. High knees in place. Chest up nice and tall. And let's do a little, I want to get just a little bit of light here and all this darkness here. A little Cotton Eye Joe to warm us up. Heel, heel. I haven't done this in so long. All right, cool. High knees in place. Let's kick that butt. We're gonna do something called a zombie. So hands are gonna be out in front, flex your foot, lift it up and feel a nice pull in the back of your leg. Really good. You've been sitting all day on the couch or anything. Getting these legs up and moving, your whole body up and moving, really important. Good. Hands on our head. Let's circle around, open up those hips. Circle around. Chest up nice and tall. Yeah, let's face on forward. Feet nice and wide, a little further than shoulder width apart. You're going to tap to one side, come to the middle, tap to the other side, come to the middle. Make sure you're breathing. Again, we're just getting our body nice and warm here. Awesome. Let's get to the end of your mat or wherever you are. We're going to walk out into the push-up position. You can put your left foot on the outside of your left hand. Lift up, elbow in, reach up, elbow in, reach up. Then let's do it on the other side. Switch sides here. Reach up, elbow in, reach up. And good. Awesome. Shake it all out. You're gonna drink a water if you need to. We're gonna go into the first round of exercises, which is gonna be just an activation to get our body nice and ready. You can do this at home basically every day to keep yourself nice and strong. So first movement we're gonna do is a hydrant here. So you're gonna have your hands into a nice flat table here. Lift your leg up, come back down. You want to make sure when you're doing this that you're not leaning to the side at all, okay? So 30 seconds here. We're going to start with hydrants. In 3, in 2, and 1. Lift it up, come down. Again, you want to make sure you're not leaning to the side while you're doing this. Lift up. Almost there. It's a great glute activation. Here, we're going to do the other side in 3, 2, and 1. Other side, keeping that body nice and flat right here. A nice little burn on the side here. Very simple movements. They're going to be really great for all of you guys at home today. Almost there, 10 more seconds. In 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Awesome. We're going to roll onto our back. We're just going to call it a dead bug. So you're going to lay flat. You're going to take this bottom half of you right here. You're going to inhale. Exhale. Push your lower back to the floor. Feet are flexed. You're going to put your hands into your knees and push, 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 push. We're going to push like this for 30 seconds. Let's go. Push, push, push the whole time. You should be shaking. Your hands are pushing into your knees pushing into your hands. Woo! Burn, burn, burn. It's a great movement to really help you with a strong foundation. Keep holding. 3, 2, and 1. Awesome. We're going to stand on up. We're using something called a curtsy lunge, okay? So chest up nice and tall. You're going to cross your foot behind, stand up, and then do it on the other side. We're going to do it for 30 seconds. In 3, 2, and 1. Cross, come out, cross. Now we're doing this also as a warm-up, right? The high knees was a warm-up. The Cotton Eye Joe was a warm-up. But so is this. Getting our body nice and pressed, what we're about to do today. Keep going. Almost there. 10 more seconds left in these curtsies. And a lot of people are scared. They're scared they're going to lose their gains during this time. You're not. It's a great opportunity to work on mobility, to work on stabilizing drills. Keep yourself nice and fit. Awesome. Next thing we're going to do, single leg stands, okay? We're going to stand on one leg, chest up nice and tall. Your leg is at 90 degrees. Keep your chest up nice and tall. Seems simple. It's a great exercise to get you nice and stable. Chest up tall, okay? And now what I want you to do is to actually shut your eyes. Shut your eyes, stay in place. Woo! Makes it a little bit harder here. Really helps working on the stabilizations of your legs. Awesome. Let's try the other side. Lift your leg up. 90 degrees here. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Chest up tall. You don't want to be slouching forward here. Hold, hold, hold. And I want you to shut your eyes. Shut your eyes. Stand. Woo! You can tell this side's a little bit, everyone always has this side is a little better than the other. In 3, 2, and good. Awesome. Woo! So now we are nice and warmed up. So we're gonna get into the actual workout today. So what we're gonna go through, a couple different movements here. You've got 4 of them. Movement number 1 is a squat. Your feet are gonna be a little further than shoulders apart. You're gonna squat all the way down, all the way up, chest up tall, okay? That's movement number 1. So down and up, okay? Movement number 2, push up to row. Your hands are gonna be shoulder width apart. You're gonna come down, lift up. Come down, lift up. You can totally go down to your knees if you need to here. Up and down. Just do what is feeling comfortable for you today, okay? That's movement number 2. Movement number 3, simple. Calf raises, legs together. Lift up and down. We tend to neglect these, so we're gonna go for them. And movement number 4, my favorite, the V, in which you can do it your legs straight or with your hands behind you for a little extra, okay? We're gonna do something called an EMOM. This means every minute on the minute. So we're gonna start off with the squats, okay? You have 1 minute to complete those 20 squats, okay? If you complete it before the time is up, you get to rest. If you don't complete it before the time is up, then there's no rest before the next movement, okay? So you're controlling your workout today, okay? All right, so we're gonna start with 20 squats. In 3, in 2, and 1. Swap it down, 20, come on, let's go. 4, come on, you got this. Halfway there. Oh, sorry, we got 54 seconds there. I'm halfway here. 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Good, you got 30. I got 30 seconds left in this clock here. If you haven't finished, keep on going. If you have finished, that's okay. Take your break. Ooh, out of breath today. This is like my 3rd workout today. We got 15 more seconds left, and then we're gonna go into those push-up rows. You have to complete 10 of them, okay? 10 of them in 1 minute. Finish before that time's up, you get to rest. We go. In 3, 2, and 1. So down, lift up, that's 1. You can do this on your knees. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If you haven't finished, keep going. If you have finished, take this time to rest. Definitely gonna increase that number on the next round, so we're totally gonna do this twice. You got this, keep going. 30 more seconds left here. We're gonna get into our next movement, which is gonna be those calf raises. We're gonna try and complete 30 of them in 1 minute. Yes, 30. Gotta work on those calf raises. Keep these calves nice and strong. We're gonna take it up. 10 more seconds left here. And we go in 3, in 2, and 1 calf raise is 30. All the way up, all the way down. Hands in those hips for some support. If you have a table next to you, you can put your hand onto it to give you a little extra. More for me. Come on, keep going. Wherever you are, keep it going. Burn the calves. Woo! Keep it going if you haven't finished yet. Keep on going. We're gonna go into the next move. In about 15 seconds, we're going into those bands. You have 20 of them to complete. Do whatever version feels right for your body, okay? The hands behind you. I'm gonna do the modified version today because I did a lot of these today. 20 of them. We go in 3, 2, and 1. Extend out, bring it in. 1, 2. You can always bring them in like this too. 4, 5, 10 more. 3, 2, 1. Keep going. You haven't finished yet. Push yourself. You got this. About 30 more seconds left. Get those 20 VNs in. Take the rest as you need. We're gonna go back to the beginning. We're doing this all one more time, but I'm gonna change the numbers up because we're gonna give ourselves a little challenge here, okay? So we're gonna go into those squats. Instead of 20 squats in a minute this time, we're gonna try to complete 30. All right, an extra 10. A little push we need. You guys can totally do it. In 10 seconds, we go down. In 3, in 2, and let's go squat it out. 30 of them. Come on. Keep that chest up nice and tall. You don't want your knees to go overneath those toes. You want to go straight down the middle. Woo! Going for those 30, okay? Halfway there. We got 10 more. Come on, keep pushing. Woo! Amazing. Keep going. Again, you're finishing 30. Go at your own pace. This is a competition with yourself. This is showing a push for yourself. You've got another 15 seconds to complete those 30. And then we're going back to a push-up row. Last time you did 10. We're going to go for 20 this time. You can totally do it. 10 seconds left. And we go. In 3, in 2, and 1. Let's go. Down, lift it up. 1, 2. You're going to 20. 3, 4. Keep those hips nice and square, nice and tight. Core. Keep going. Going up to 20 at a time. I got one more. Keep going. You haven't finished. Keep pushing yourself. Almost there. You got 30 seconds. And we're going back to those calf raises. You better believe it. We're going to do another 10. So we're going to go up to 40 calf raises this time in this minute. And you notice how these EMOMs are a great way to push yourself, right? It's a great thing to do at home. You can kind of push yourself with your numbers. How much can I push myself in this minute to get this number done? Legs together. 10 seconds left. In 3, 2, and 1. Let's go. We're going to 40. All the way up, all the way down. Hands on those hips. This is what I'm going to feel tomorrow. A lot of you are probably the same. I always will feel it in my calf. Woo! I'm at 20. Keep going wherever you're at. This is you versus you today. Oh, burn! Keep going. I got 10 more. 10. We got 30 seconds left. Oh, man, keep going, keep going. You're going up to 40 this time. You got this. 10 more seconds left. This is my cat Felix. She's been wanting to work out with us this whole time, so here she is. She's like, good job, good job. Not evening. 10 more seconds left. We're going into those VNs. Let's go for 25. 25. We did 20 last time. Let's try for that extra 5, okay? We go in 3, 2, and 1. Put your hands behind you. Do whatever one feels comfortable for you. I'm at 15. Keep going wherever you're at, trying to get up to 25. Woo! Keep going, almost there. 30 more seconds, let's just finish that, okay? You got this, keep pushing yourself. Do which one feels good for you. Almost there. 10 more seconds left to finish them. If you finish them already, it's okay, take a seat. Shake it out for a second. Woo! Almost there, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Awesome job. I can't see you guys, so give yourselves a round of applause. It's so weird because I can't even see myself at all, but great job there on that workout. We're gonna go into a quick plank hold, all right? Quick little core here for 2 minutes. We're gonna start off with just a regular plank, Okay, first thing we're gonna start off with. Then as we go, we're gonna add some little extra tweaks to it as we go, okay? So get onto your forearms, butt down. We go in 3, 2, and 1. Forearms down, butt down, hold. 3. Squeeze that butt nice and tight. Say hi to my cat. What's up, Felix? Hold it, hold it, hold it. We're gonna add some plank hip taps here. So you're gonna tap to one side, come back to the middle. Tap to the other side, come back to the middle. Keep tapping. Looking good. Everybody stay up in this plank. We're in this together. 3, 2, and back to that plank. Hold it. Hold, hold, hold. We're 30 seconds in here. What I want you to do, you're going to lift your left elbow up. You're going to give you 5 touches onto the floor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Back to the middle here. Do it on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Back to that plank. Hold it. We're a minute in. We got a minute to go here. Keep pushing. Keep that belly up. Squeeze that butt. We're going to tap it out in 3, 2, and 1. Let's tap. 1, 2, all the way to 10. Finish your 10. Go back to that plank hold. In the middle. You got this. Woo! We're going to lift this elbow up. We're going to do 5 of those taps again. Lift up, tap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Back to the middle to the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Back to that plank hold. 15 seconds left here. You guys got this. Woo! Feeling that core burn. And 5, 4, 3, 2, and good. Awesome. Drop down to that mat. Hands on either side. Let's give you a nice big stretch up. Hold. Look to the left side. Look to the right side. Push all the way up into the down dog and pedal your feet out. Awesome. And I want to give yourselves a round of applause. Everybody did such a great job. It's so interesting because I can't see you guys there. But hopefully that was a good sweat. It was a good sweat for me. I'm literally drenched right now.
You did awesome, Angela. Thank you so much. That was terrific.
So fun. It's so great to be here with you guys. I mean, it's motivating me to keep moving. And you're right, by continuing to move a little bit every single day, it's going to increase your mood. It's going to make you feel better. This is going to go by a lot faster.
I love it. You did awesome. That was a great class. We have a huge group of people. Who wants to send a little note here to Angela as we're getting ready to get off? Awesome workout, says Blaze from the Upper West Side. Send us some notes. We want to hear what you guys have to say. Tons of people raising their hands. Yeah. Oh my God, the whole, literally hundreds of people raising their hands. Ava Kim says, thank you. Blaze says, crazy hard. I love, look at this. We're getting, this meter is going insane. People raising their hand. Write a little Q&A. Tell us where you did that from. Angela, that was really terrific. Thank you so much for doing that.
Of course.
I'm going to see some of these other names. Steve says, aloha from Honolulu.
Hello.
That's
amazing.
Great. That was amazing. From Brooklyn. Thank you for the challenge. Connecticut. A bunch of people in Connecticut watching us. Gramercy Park says Brenda. Christian says amazing workout. Tons of these. Love the kitty. Chris loves the cat. The cat was a big hit there.
My cat's like, feed me.
Yolanda says this was my favorite one so far. Me too. I think so. People, Long Island in the house.
What's
How
up,
about
Long
those
Island?
planks?
Yes.
Good job, everybody, man. Colorado says Re. Thanks. Good to see you, Re, from Colorado. Upper East Side says Kelly. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Angela, you want to do this again sometime?
Absolutely. I mean, I love doing this with you guys. I also, again, I just love this community, how we're sticking together during this hard time. If anything, I feel like my community has grown. I've been able to meet so many people from all over the world because we're all in this together.
You better believe it. All right. Well, listen, everybody, stay safe. Thank you so much. I will see you Saturday morning at 10 for my Iron Strength workout I'm teaching. You'll be getting an email about that later tomorrow if you haven't signed up already. And then we'll be back on our running webinar Tuesday and another wellness webinar Thursday. Angela, Gretchen, Human, thank you so much. Have a good night, everybody. Goodbye, Felix.
Bye.